guys, welcome back to another episode of the TO Show. This week we have another awesome guest with us here this week. But before we dive into things, guys, you guys have been killing it on the likes and subscribes. Guys, keep it up and continue to help support the channel so we can continue to have like awesome guests with us every week. And it just shows that you guys are helping support and sticking with this and help supporting student athletes, so we can continue to give them a platform to speak out about whatever they feel like is necessary and get to know a little bit more about them. Some sports don't get the advantage of having the publicity that other sports do. So being able to provide this opportunity is what we're here for in our main region to do these things. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. But let's dive into things, guys. This week we have an awesome guest this week. First team all conference and the America East, was one of the better players. I think got robbed of America East Player of the Year, but Helene Haegerstrand. Did I say that right? Helene?
Sounds good.
All right, I got it close enough. I'm sorry about
Close
that
enough.
again, but welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you on this week.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So let's dive into things. Tell us a little bit about yourself and, tell us a little bit about your background. You're our first international athlete to have on the TO show. So talk a little bit about your kind of path to UAlbany and just go in depth about that.
Well, it started kind of odd. I was back home in Sweden and didn't really have my thoughts of going to college at all, which is kind of crazy back then. But I was playing in Sweden in a team. I was working because I graduated 2 years earlier. So I came here kind of late. I turned 21 my freshman year. So definitely like last chance type of thing. But it was just an opportunity I couldn't really say no to. Combining school and athletes is obviously a huge thing, which we don't really do well in Sweden. So I decided to go, and I was looking into some schools, and my friend was here, Amanda Canty, at that point, and she was like, well, I heard you're looking, you have to come here for a visit. And then coach actually came to Sweden. So I met her after work, a random day in March. And then,
Wow.
I kind of just like, all right, like a visit it is. And then I went to visit schools, and then I just came here and felt like this is really a home type of feeling. And that's obviously important for me being so far away. It's an 8-hour fly across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. I mean, outside of like the family aspect side of things, was there anything else that kind of helped you like pick your decision on picking kind of like where you wanted to go?
I just felt like the development, the coaches, the piece of that, like individual development and just focusing on getting everyone better and not just like the whole, I don't know, it was a bigger picture kind of. And obviously having Amanda here, another Swedish girl, was like a comfort too, because it's a big step moving that far and doing this whole thing. So that definitely helped. But I don't know, I saw myself being here, which was the biggest piece for me.
Awesome. Yeah, let's dive into a little bit about kind of like talking about your guys' path to the tournament and being able, kind of your guys' experience. How did you guys, of course, were able to get an automatic berth and win the America East and be the 16th seed, play the number one team in the country. But talk a little bit about through how kind of like the season progressed. You guys kind of like started off like kind of feeling things out, but as the season kind of got on, you guys kind of like took stride and continued to like improve. And you seems like at the end of the season, you guys didn't win the regular season, but you were playing your best basketball when you guys needed to.
That was really what it was. And us, like in July when we all came here, it was so like obvious that we were all so ready to go after COVID year, just like didn't do us well. And it just felt so unfair because we had so many pauses and back and forth in the school and whatever. So that was just the biggest thing. We all came back in shape and we were ready to go at the end of July. And then we just kept that mindset and set our goal early August and just like, we're going to do this. And it was just so cool of playing like big schools as Boston College and Vanderbilt early on, and like trying to like, okay, this is some hard teams we're playing, but we also felt like we're in it and we're doing better and better every day. And we had some losses that they were important. Obviously they sucked at that point, but they were important for us in the long run. So it was just so cool how we like set our goal in August, and we did the whole thing from August. And as you said, play our best basketball in March.
Yeah.
And playing Louisville was obviously so cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. So what was kind of like the experience of like, all right, so you guys, went up to Maine, you ended up beating Maine to, get an automatic berth into the into the dance. What was it like being like playing the number one team and even the number one team in the freaking bracket as well. Kind of like traveling there. What was it kind of like? You get to play in like a pretty cool stadium and stuff like that. What was it kind of like the experience for you guys after you guys kind of won the tournament at the end?
It was just such a huge feeling for all of us because we felt so like accomplished and relieved for a little bit. And then like just the whole travel thing, like we flew there obviously, and like 75 people from the school came, and everyone was just so invested, and it was a whole new experience, which was so cool because it was like it was our time kind of. And
Yeah.
just walking into the stadium, having that shoot around and practice before, and it's just so big because there's so many people dreaming of being there, even at big schools. Like you can win, but you don't, not all schools go to March Madness. So it was just really cool for us to go there.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome stuff. So you guys seemed like you guys were playing around with them for like, at least the first half, of you kind of guys were neck and neck. There wasn't like, a really big gain one way or another. It seemed like you guys were playing, at least for the entire half. Do you guys feel like you guys like don't back down just because they're number one team in the country? You guys feel like you kind of can play with like anybody?
Yeah, we definitely can play with anybody. It also like our defense has been our thing. We were like ranked first in the whole country with our defense for the
Wow.
longest time, like months. So that was huge for us. So we kept good teams above like lower than their average,
Mhm.
which was our goal in that game too. And we did that. So that was big. But it was really the third quarter that we won the third quarter. So that was huge. But they're like obviously they're so good and so athletic on all positions. So it's hard to with matchups and getting our offense because they took us very seriously. Like their coach posted from a press conference how he talked about us, and he was like, "Well, this is by far the best 16th seed we ever played," and that's so cool for us to hear from like Louisville's head coach. So that was huge, and I don't know, just as you said, like playing with them and knowing that we're here to show what we've worked for all year, and now
Yeah.
that we're all coming back next year is a big piece.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Let's segue into like talk a little bit about kind of your guys' future or even just kind of like the team dynamics. So you being like an international player, what was it like kind of coming in first, like as a kind of an outsider? So you're not involved into like American culture. You might have like an idea like of like social media and like some other things that you hear on the news, but you haven't really necessarily been a full dive into it. What was it like kind of coming to at least from the culture side, and then you can talk a little bit about like the team dynamic of you talked there was another Swedish girl on the team already, which kind of helped, but just talk a little bit about that.
Definitely culture differences that were it was hard to get used to in the beginning. It's not really like anything like that's better or worse. It's just different. And
Yeah.
like just the food that is a big piece that people don't really think about. And just like coaching and how I don't know, as you said, like team dynamics and really at home, like I've never called my coach because we just go by first name.
Hmm.
So just that in practice being like on top of everything and like thinking like I don't want to mess up and they like forget to say coach, and you're like and it's just small things they have to get used to, and it takes time, and also like the language obviously you have to think before you speak, and school on top of that is not really easy to combine in the beginning, but it's cool how you get used to it.
Yeah, what is some like things that you like enjoy about American culture, some things you dislike, and some things that like you really like about back home, but some things that you might like a little bit better than America? There's like give or take. There's not one that's better than another. It's just like what are some like give and takes on the different cultures or different atmospheres?
I've definitely been asked this before. It's kind of hard to answer because it's also like now I'm used to going home in the summer and everything's like it's summertime, it's nice. But then
Yeah.
like Sweden is so depressing in the winter because it's just dark from like when you wake up to you basically go to bed. So that's definitely a thing. Like people talk about the weather here being bad, but it's like it's a beautiful winter and it's a long summer.
Hmm.
So yeah, it could be bad, but it's like it's fine. And then I would say people are so outgoing and easy to talk to here in a different way that I really appreciate, especially coming new. You're never like, oh, you're not from here, or
Yeah.
maybe you have an accent or whatever. It's so easy to talk to people, and that's very nice.
Do you guys have like a lot of like, since you have such kind of like lawn and especially being in the northern hemisphere, like very short days in the winter, do you guys have like a lot of like skiing or like other activities that you like to do during the winter time up there?
Yes, I love skiing. I've skied since I was like 3, probably. Every winter we always go up like somewhere, either go somewhere in Europe or up north in Sweden with my family. So that's definitely something I miss. I have probably haven't skied because of basketball in like 4 or 5 years. So I definitely miss that. But yeah, I love like being on the water, swimming, the coast side, and yeah,
That's awesome.
definitely
Yeah,
seasons.
there
Yeah.
yours. Yeah, you'll have to eventually get a taste of, I wouldn't say like East Coast skiing, just because probably you'll be disappointed, but hopefully someday you'll
No.
be able to go out west and get to compare kind of notes on which place you like to ski more. I guess this Sweden has some pretty cool places and some pretty beautiful mountains that I can that'd be probably pretty hard to top. But talk a little bit about kind of you being an international student, but also you're kind of like a leader, just because you know you're an upperclassman, but give some advice and talk a little about your experiences kind of being a leader, being an international student, you know, coming on a team. Because I feel like you're already an outsider because you're not involved in American culture. You don't necessarily speak the language as best as other people, but there's ways that you can be a leader, just not just necessarily talking, but with your actions and stuff like that. Just talk a little bit how you've kind of grown into that like leadership role on your guys' team.
Yeah, definitely. That's been since I was named one of captains that from freshman into sophomore year, which is very early.
Mhm.
Being an international student, just like taking that as a huge responsibility, and it's so cool, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity because it's a big thing. Probably bigger than I understood at that point.
Yeah.
And it's just as you said, like being a little bit of an outsider and stepping into that role and having people. It's just been for me to lead by example, and doing my thing and always work hard and talk. And like language part is more so like you kind of lead by how you play and how you
Hmm.
talk on the court and how you get people involved and pick people up, and never really, if I put my head down, I'm going to see more heads going down, so I need to keep mine up and lead by body language and all those kinds of things. But I definitely learned a lot because handling people with different personalities and then trying to kind of adjust how I would react and how I
Hmm.
would talk to that person, and maybe that different with you than I would with another person in different situations. So that's been a huge piece and something I learn every day. And just like the coaching staff has been so helpful. And I'm really close with them, and we all are. And just having their support and like understanding being an international. I mean, we're like 5 of us, 4 of us. So they kind of
Wow.
don't really have much of a choice, but
Yeah.
it's definitely different. But we're all used to it now because we're so many.
Yeah, I mean, so like unlike, you know, some maybe practically some other sports where there's not quite, you know, the same, you know, different melting pots, you know, football is like one of them where we have people necessarily internationally, but all across the United States. But, you know, like a
Yeah.
basketball team where, you know, everyone's coming from everywhere. And you said you have 5 international athletes. How are you kind of like you talked a little bit about it, but how are you guys kind of like able to deal with it in the locker room, having like different personalities, different languages, different things that, you know, you guys seem like you gel really well all together. What are some things that you guys do, or some, maybe it's a coaching thing, or maybe it's just a culture thing that you guys started to create that continues to help you guys kind of bring all these different backgrounds and make them gel so well?
Yeah, I really don't know how everything just works out because we're so close, every one of us. And I think it kind of started like in the summer because we all lived together in the summer session, and then
Mhm.
we moved to our different apartments, and we just spent so much time together. And people kind of like, I mean, we're 3 Swedish girls, and like them accepting that we sometimes need to like talk Swedish to get some
Uh-huh.
feelings out or whatever, has been huge because everyone's like, oh, whatever, like they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
But also like us, everyone's just interested in everyone, and we all have each other's back in a way. Like I've never been a part of a team that's this close, like everyone. So that's definitely a huge part of our culture, and we've known that since the start. Yeah, we really care for each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talked about a little bit earlier about kind of like your guys' team, but also talked a little bit about like, you know, you said you're returning majority of the people, you know, back from this year's team. Now I know it's very early and you guys are kind of like in your like digress session where, hey, like let's think about the season and then here we'll start ramping things up again.
Yeah.
And then, you know, have finals and whatever, be back into it again. But what is it kind of like as you thought about the season, and there's had to be some thoughts about next season? What are, like, if you're saying, hey, we're going to be the favorites, we're going to have a target on our back for next year, what are some things that you guys can do and will continue to do to kind of, reach that goal again of, of course you guys want to make it to the tournament, but maybe, make it, go undefeated or whatever it is, and possibly win a first round game and move on.
We just all have to stay hungry and not settle, and we can never be satisfied. As you said, like, everyone's coming back and we can't just be like, oh nice, let's do it again. It's like this summer is going to be huge when we go home and have a little break, and then coming back as we did last year, like in shape and ready to go, and understanding that, as you said, like, we have a target on our back. Some people are going to want to beat us because Maine are losing a couple of players and Stony Brook are obviously out. So it's going to be huge for us to stay hungry and want it more than everyone else.
Yeah. So you guys kind of like have a very, elongated season throughout, and you guys actually, you guys play around, 40-ish games. But what do you guys do to help kind of like balance everything? Because I feel like you guys kind of like have it worse because you're still here for Thanksgiving, all the breaks. You guys are here during Christmas break, Christmas, New Year's, and stuff like that. Like, how do you guys are able to like continue to keep morale and like keep, it's such a long season. I feel like you guys have, like, you start in like end of October, early November, and then you guys are done in March. I'm like, good grief, you guys have the freaking, feels like the longest season, the worst breaks, whatever.
Yeah.
How are you guys like able to deal with like all that? I feel like you guys have like the most, like, I wouldn't say adversity, but like if you look at just like compared to like a normal college student, like you outside of summer, you guys have no breaks.
Yeah, we really never stop. And our summer is like, I mean, I'm home for maybe 8 weeks. And then we're here from July and we'll go from summer session end of July till March. So it's like really all year round type of sport. And I don't know, honestly. It's just really you go on auto kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's really it has obviously to do with the team, because that if I decide to just like not be there mentally one day, it's going to hurt all of us. And that's really where it's like, if as long as you care for your teammates, you're going to show up and you're going to want to do your best because you see the bigger picture in the end. And it's just, for us, it's just like our goals are very far away. It's not like maybe football, you play what, like 11, 10?
Yeah, we play, it's very like, it's long, but it's like very short. We play 11, 12 games.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like that's easier to be like, okay, we have this in front of us. But when our conference starts, we still have 16. So as you said, like, we play up to 40 games, and just like, I don't know, it's really how you like balance practices with the games to still be in shape and still not being too injured and all that. But it's definitely, it's a long run.
Yeah, you guys play like around like 2 to 3 games a week. How are you guys able to like, it feels like you guys practice more than like you actually play, like twice, 3 times as many like times as like anybody else. How are you guys able to like go in every day? Because some people, it's sometimes it's really hard to practice, especially when you're tired and you're sore, and like I said, it's a long season. What are some things that you do to continue to like, whether it's mentally or physically, to help you like throughout that entire season? Hey, you're still going hard at practice and all these other things.
I like to break down my days and practice. Like, I really need routines. So when, like, as soon as like summer session, then we start this, and then I have to focus like, okay, this is going to be this long of a period of time, and I have to do this throughout that time to keep my head with things. And just in practice, like, I break down drills, kind of like, okay, that was one, and then on to the next, and like next, and just think one step at a time is really how I need to see things. Otherwise, it's just like overwhelming. So that's definitely one thing. And just looking over your shoulder and see like, okay, this girl is to my left, this to my right, she's going to do the exact same thing. Why should I not win it or do it?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. What are some like tips that you can give? Like, you've been successful, continuing sustain success over like, a long period of time. I think everyone's been like knowing that, hey, you're eventually going to like really break out. And this year was kind of like your really breakout season, help leading the team. What were some tips that like you can give to like other athletes to, continue to stay hungry, or, kind of crack through that next step where, you're so close, but you're not like quite there. You might not necessarily, you're so close, but not everyone sees it necessarily of you breaking through until like this year where you started getting accolades and stuff like that.
I've just really had like a pretty calm picture in my head of like basketball in general. Like I've never let myself getting too stressed out about it, because I just think like, okay, it's just a ball, it's a sport, like it's not the end of the world. I'm not trying to do something that's gonna survive, or like it's not that important. And that has helped me being like, okay, let me just like, I'm gonna do my best, and do my best might not be enough, but then I have to do better.
Yeah,
I'm never
exactly.
like, I've never really satisfied myself. I need to cut myself some slack sometimes. Because it like, yeah, it can hurt you and your teammates when you're too competitive and just wants more. But that's also one thing that helps us grow, because we all like always want more. And sometimes we have to be like, okay, you're good. We did a good job. Like, okay, next one kind of. But I would just say trust the process, as everyone would say. But it's really what it is. You have 4 years or 5 years in college, and it's your time, and just take advantage of what you get and use the resources. Like I have 5-6 coaches that care so much about our development and us as a team, and they spend all day thinking about us. And that's something we kind of take for granted because it's their job, but they're so invested in us as athletes, and it's really cool to have that.
Yeah, that is awesome. I think that's kind of staying level-headed is still being like hard on
Yeah.
yourself, but like not like to where you're just overbearing on yourself and stuff like that. It seems
Yeah.
like you and your team are kind of like very good in the classroom as well on the court. What are some things that you guys kind of do to help kind of balance those things out? Seems like you guys are always like on top of your stuff, man. Like whatever it is, whether it's class, man, you guys are on the court or whatever. You guys don't seem like a bunch of troublemakers or doing all that stuff. What are some things that you do to continue to do well in the classroom, on the court, and in the community? That you guys are constantly doing.
I think we all just have such a huge respect for our program, and like being women's basketball, it's been like we've heard from other coaches, like, yeah, as you said, like we're not really troublemakers. We try to stay on top of our things, and that's just something that has grown throughout the years, and something that we really want to take care of, because it's cool to be that, have that reputation. And we really like, as a team, we have like academic achievement, it's called, which is like basically study hall, and we all go on Zoom on Sundays for 2 hours, and we all do work. And just knowing that we have that is one thing. And then people have study hall hours, obviously, and when we go on the road, we have study hall, and we all just really want to like perform and keep our reputation. It's important for us, so I think our culture is strong in that way.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I know you talked a little bit about like study hall on the road and stuff like that. What is it like balancing, like you guys have like weekday games, or like sometimes you'll have like
Yeah.
random like Tuesday or Wednesday games, like where you're traveling like literally to, Maine or Vermont or other places, and then you turn around right around and coming right back. What is it like going on like these school nights where you're having to miss class and do all these other things and having to come back right around and kind of balancing that?
Yeah, going to Maine on a Tuesday and coming back Wednesday midnight or at 3 a.m. is not really the best, but it like it comes down to like the professors, obviously. Like you need some type of understanding and
Mhm.
support, because there's a lot of games that we play Wednesdays, as you said. So, and then this year we usually have Sundays off, but now because of COVID, we have some makeup games. So they were put on Mondays. So we would travel Sunday, play Saturday, travel
Jeez.
Sunday, play Monday. It's just like it's so busy, and they understand. And for us to just, I think that also kind of helps us perform, because then you only have this much time to do your work and this
Mhm.
much time to get stuff done. So it's really just like, okay, it's now or never. And I obviously I'm not gonna like fail my classes. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna be on top of it. It's really just
Yeah.
planning.
I feel like you guys like have like the most, again, with your guys' schedules, like having that those weird, especially when you guys you come back from, or all the regular students come back from break of like, you're starting a new semester again, and you guys are just playing on the random days. It's and
Yeah.
I can imagine that. I mean, it's even hard for us sometimes when like we're traveling on a Friday and we have to miss a game and stuff like that, even just like missing a couple classes. But doing it on a consistent basis would make it tough. Do you guys like make your schedule around like, hey, we know we're going to be playing on Wednesdays, so try not to like schedule those like Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, and try to schedule them like a Tuesday, Thursday? Or how do you guys
Yeah.
like is there like some sort of kind of good balance, or hey, let's take like night classes on like Mondays and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. And it's more like now it's harder because you're like junior, senior, have to like your major classes kind
Yeah.
of falls into like practice time, and then you're like, oh, yeah, it's hard to balance. But usually I definitely think about that and try to not put anything like Thursday morning because you might be home 3 a.m. on
Hmm.
Wednesday. And but then some people have their 8 a.m.s on Thursdays, and it's just like, okay, let's do it. But yeah, that's definitely something I have. I mean, we were like 4 people that had our packed Tuesdays and Thursdays, like morning before practice, 3 classes after, just to like kind of have those days hard, but then maybe have Friday off and be able to study before we leave or something.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Yeah, I think it's like really important to like be able to be like, hey, like especially if you have the ability to do it. Of course, there's some classes that you're like, man, I have to take this one. Like, there's no room
Yeah.
if and buts about it and stuff like that. I think that's really tough. What's some things that like you miss about like Sweden when you're here? Of course you have like family and friends that you probably miss the most. Or what are some like whether it's food or some culture things that like you miss about like, hey man, I wish I could like have this right now.
Definitely the food in general. I'm a big foodie.
Okay,
uh,
yeah.
just that, and I love like going to restaurants, and I don't know, just the whole, that's been like family thing for us.
Hmm.
We're all very interested in that. So yeah, definitely like that aspect. And then I don't know, I live in the city in Stockholm, so like having everything kind of close and walking everywhere is something I miss, because here it's like I live on campus now, which is great
Hmm.
because it's convenient because I don't have a car, obviously. So it's more so like now when you want to go somewhere, you kind of have to drive because it's not like the bus is that
Yeah.
accurate. So that's something I miss. It's so easy to get around back home.
Is there like a lot of
Um,
like, I've heard that Europe has like a lot of public transportation, like here where
yeah.
we kind of like have our cars. Does that make it like difficult to like, like getting food or like other things, like whether it's a grocery store run or other things like that, makes it a little bit tougher, not having a car here in America, and kind of like a different like cultures change where here it's kind of like you have your own car, but back home it's like you don't necessarily need one, but it's nice to
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah. That's really what it is. It's just like I also like prefer walking. So when I walk around here, people are like, "Are you crazy? Like I can give you a ride." I'm like, "No, it's fine." So that's definitely something. But and here you so I'm so dependent on my roommate Morgan because she has a car, and that's like annoying because you feel bad when you're like, "I really need groceries, but I don't want to ask to like go get groceries." So that's definitely something, like the public transportation and how that works, I would say.
Yeah, it's nice that well, at least we have like an opportunity sometimes to have like the bus system or whatever, that we get our swipes for free and stuff like that at,
Yeah,
at
that's great.
UA. But what's like, is it like, is there a special dish or something that like you really like specifically miss, like that you can't have here, or is it just like a plethora of just food in general that are just so much better over there?
I think it's just in general how things are like. I don't know. We have like a lot of like, okay, what's it called? Salad, carbs, meat,
Yeah.
and then everything is kind of like structured, and you make a whole meal instead of here. It's like, okay, you can get chicken and then you have fries to it, and then it's like chicken or rice. It's not really like a thought
Uh-huh.
into the whole dish, which I miss. And then I love Asian food, so every time I like good sushi, I would love. That's like the first thing I eat when I get home.
What would you say is like one thing that Sweden's known for, that like you think of, like when you think of Sweden and you think of like on a global basis, like what do you think of like Sweden? What do you think Sweden stands for? What's some specific things that you think
Um, I would say IKEA and Swedish meatballs.
Swedish
I
meatballs?
think,
I can go for
yeah,
some Swedish meatballs all the time. Those are really good.
yeah,
Thank you,
those are really
Sweden.
good.
Those are really good. Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, before we wrap things up, Helene, do you have anything else that you want to say to the viewers, or any other comments or things that you want to talk about?
Um, I don't think so. Just like keep coming to our games. It's so fun that the whole support system has grown this year and how people are invested when we're winning. But it's been great. And I just hope people keep supporting us. We have a good next year coming.
Yeah. Well, be on the lookout for UAlbany women's basketball again next year and stuff like that. They'll definitely be in the contention running. It looks like that they're still hungry for more. The NCAA is not good enough. They need a first round dub, need some respect.
Yep.
They need to be a nice little Cinderella story again, like St. Peter's was on the men's side and
Right.
Creighton was on the women's side this year. So like I said, guys, make sure you guys go check them out and continue to follow these guys and support them. It's really fun when you kind of like go to games and, there's an atmosphere, community and camaraderie. I know being an athlete, you feel it on the field, even though you act like it doesn't bother you, because it doesn't, but it only helps. It's an awesome feeling when you see people and fans cheering for you. But guys, don't forget to support them and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, and we're going to keep bringing you awesome content. Thank you, Helene, for coming and being with us today. We really appreciate it. We're going to have hopefully some more international guests that continue to give us some pretty cool perspectives on things that we can learn about. But until then, peace.
Thank you so much.